60, no, that's it.
64 years and 10, 11, pretty near 12 months.
August 2nd.
August
65.
2nd, it'll be 65.
Wow.
65 and the 2nd of August.
Probably at times.
Feels like
Probably
yesterday. Yeah. Sometimes it does.
It does now that we're older. It didn't when we were younger.
No.
But now that we're older, time goes going by fast.
Oh. Some things you can't say.
I think
Yeah.
it was easier probably the first year
Sure.
because you're
smoochy poochy and all that stuff.
yeah, you don't have any problems yet.
You get kind of used to each other.
Plus, we didn't have any worries really. Well, except a little financial.
And you get so you look like each other after a while. Look at this. Is this what I got? I was looking for the one I got.
Well, I probably wanted a good-looking one, and I sure did get a good-looking one. Okay, because I was just a teenager, really. I don't know, probably somebody that's going to be kind. Somebody that was sweet, gentle, kind, and he was.
I used to write to all the girlfriends when I was on the ship with Willie. Willie says, "Which one are you going to marry?" I says, "I haven't met her yet." Which is true, I hadn't.
I was at a friend of my father's, who was a great friend. They've been pals since high school. And my father was going to a fireman's meeting that was right close to him, and I went for the ride, and I knew his daughter, and that's where I was, and she got up and took off and walked with somebody else. So there I sat all by myself on the front porch, and then your father, was visiting somebody like next door, and then he saw me sitting on the porch, and I guess he came over and said hi.
Who's that lady there? Who's that girl? And I said to this one, Shirley, her name was, I said, "I'd like to meet her." So she did. She hollered for Mary Lou to come over. So she came over, and I said, "Geez, she's kind of a nice looking thing." So I asked her if she'd go to a dance with me. I said, "You want to go to it?" After we talked a little bit, Saturday night, and she said, "Okay."
He drove and drove and drove, and I was getting worried because I didn't know where. But way out in the country someplace where square dancing, because he liked to square dance. I didn't know how to square dance. I was very self-conscious.
Carroll's Grove, it was about 20 miles from where she lived, too. And I think she was probably nervous that I'm driving her way over towards Troy, 20 miles away. And they had a square and round dance bowl. And I like to square dance there because I used to call off when I was a kid, call off square dances. So we went to the dance. Partway through the dance, she says, "I got to go out in the car a minute." And I'm saying, "Oh, boy." We go out in the car. She had to fix her hair or something. I don't know. I guess that's what happened. Her hair she thought was a mess. And then we come back in. No problem. We come back in, and finished the dance, and I drove her home, and I remember the first time I kissed her. I was coming down on the corner by State Street in Schenectady. And we reached over and give her a kiss. Yeah.
He says he did, and he remembers where, but I don't remember.
We went over to, I remember going over to the house to pick her up, and my daddy's car, the left side was all smashed. It was from an accident that one of my brothers, Melly, had. I didn't want to show it to the family, her family. They'd be scared to death. And they'd say, "What the heck is this?" So I pulled in the yard so I didn't have to turn that left side of the car towards the house. And I went in, being a nice fella, I went in, and she was going to introduce me to the family. In comes this burly fella, and she says, "This is my father." And he looked at me and he said, "Looks like you could stand a little weight there, boy." First words he said to me. We wound up being good friends, though, I'll tell you. Real good friends.
We were engaged only for about a year. Then we got married. I had a white dress. I was going to we didn't have any money, so I borrowed my best friend's gown, and the cleaners ruined it. So at the last minute, I had to go to the store and pick out a gown, and they had so much prettier ones, but couldn't afford them. And then, we had the wedding at our church, Cobblestone Church, and then the reception was at my parents' house, out on the lawn, because we were, just a couple of young kids that didn't have much money. And she furnished food. I think I think family brought stuff too. I'm not sure. I can't remember. And my aunt was there. My godmother was there and helped me get dressed. And she pressed my veil with a little bit of starch to make it, stand out, because I had Lil's veil. I hadn't sent that to the cleaners. So that was it. And then I went to Troy. And then we went to Canada on our honeymoon. Turned around, and your father didn't like those dirty Frenchmen because they were all looking at me. He got madder than that. They were all looking at me, and he got upset. Oh, little arguments, I mean, we're still having little arguments. I mean, some people might call them fights, but we call them arguments. No, on my really rough time when we lost my father, when my father died, and that was the first close relative, really close relative, We had a time like that.
He was like a daddy to me. Yeah, I remember your mother was up at the grocery store. I dropped her off, and the phone, after I got home, the phone rang, and it was her sister Junie saying that their father was in the hospital, had a heart attack. So when I went to pick her up, I told your mother, it's, I don't know how bad he is, but he's had a heart attack. I says, "You better go back." And at that time, we didn't have enough money for everybody to go back, so I says, "Go ahead, you go back." And her and her sister, Patty, both went back. And then I called to see how he was doing. She says, not too good. And I said, oh, gee. Next thing I know, he had died. I guess he had died when they were en route on a plane to Albany. So I said, I got to figure a way of getting back there. So I borrowed some money off him. Max Deason, his name was, a guy that put in pools. Nice, he's a good friend of mine. I borrowed the money for me and Uncle Harold to go back. And it worked out all right. We were all there, pretty sad. And her father had, he had some airplane tickets. He was gonna come out here. Matter of fact, just before he died, he was going to come out. And anyway, nobody had enough money to buy him flowers for his funeral. So I'm talking to the older sister. She said, he's got money in the bank, but I don't know how we're going to get it. And you had to tell him, if you called a bank and you said you're going to write a check, he had signed a few checks before he died. He signed a few checks, but he couldn't cash them. So I said to Junie, Sister Junie, I said, I'll figure it out. So I called a bank. They didn't had his death notice posted yet. So I said, this is Mr. Vitch. I forgot how much money I had in the bank. How much have I got in there? Anyway, my account. I give them the number of the account. They told me, and made it out for 10 cents less. It cost 10 cents for a check. We drew all the money out, a couple $100. And we bought her father his flowers with his money. Well, I don't know if he'd appreciate it, but it worked out right. Yeah. There was a lot of good times. We started traveling a lot. Started making a little money.
I think after he quit, for me, after he quit work, because he was home more and, he loved his job and whatnot, but, for me it was after he quit. And we were able to spend more time together. More traveling. We've been all over. We've been to at least, I think, 4 times.
Hamburg, Germany. And then we went down to
Hawaii, probably three times.
Australia.
Alaska, at least 5 times, which we love.
Russia, even went to Russia one time. I wanted to go down to South America, but and get down the Amazon. She said, no, too many crocodiles, I guess, or whatever.
We'd like to go back to Alaska, but I don't know if I'm up to it. Hang in there. There's a lot of ups and downs, but the ups sure outweigh the downs.
Yeah, just back off. I've always said that, just back off when they want to discuss something that you don't agree with. You just got to back off, that's all, because sometimes you're just inflamed the situation.
It's been great. Most of the time, been great. We've had, we've had like I said, we've had our ups and downs. But I do it all over again. I'd do it all over again.
Oh, hell yes. No problem.